I'm your host, Sigmund, and I'm excited to dive into this topic that affects us all in our daily lives. So, what is consumer psychology? Simply put, it's the study of how people make purchasing decisions and what influences those decisions. This concept is important in psychology because it helps us understand human thought, emotion, and behavior in the context of consumerism. The emergence of consumer psychology as a field of study dates back to the early 20th century, when psychologists like John Watson and Edward Bernays began applying psychological principles to advertising and marketing. One major framework that explains this concept is the theory of planned behavior, developed by Psych. This theory suggests that our purchasing decisions are influenced by three main factors: our attitude towards the product or service, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control. Another key framework is the elaboration likelihood model, which explains how we process information when making purchasing decisions. This model proposes that we either engage in central processing or peripheral processing. Our understanding of consumer psychology has evolved significantly over time with advances in neuroscience, social psychology, and behavioral economics. For instance, research has shown that our brains respond differently to different types of marketing messages, with some areas of the brain associated with emotional processing and others with rational evaluation. We've also learned about the importance of cognitive biases, such as confirmation bias and anchoring bias. Let's look at some significant research findings related to consumer psychology. One classic study by psychologist Robert Cialdini demonstrated the power of social influence in shaping our purchasing decisions. In this study, Cialdini found that people were more likely to buy a product if they saw others buying it, even if those others were just Confederates planted by the researcher. More recent research has explored the role of technology in consumer psychology, such as the use of personalized recommendations and targeted advertising. For example, a study by psychologist Andrew T. Stephen found that people who received personalized product recommendations were more likely to make a purchase than those who did not receive such recommendation. So, how can understanding consumer psychology help us in our everyday lives? By recognizing the tactics used by marketers, we can become more informed consumers, making choices that align with our values and needs, rather than just our emotions or social pressures. We can also develop more mindful consumption habits, considering the environmental and social impact of our purchases. For instance, my colleague Dr. Rachel worked with a client who was struggling to save money due to impulse buying. By understanding the psychological factors driving these purchases, such as the desire for social approval and fear of missing out, Dr. Rachel helped her client develop strategies to resist these influences and make more intentional purchasing decisions. Another area where consumer psychology can be applied is in the development of marketing strategies that promote sustainable consumption. For example, a company might use social norms theory to encourage customers to adopt eco-friendly behaviors, such as reducing energy consumption or using public transport. By highlighting the positive actions of others, the company can create a sense of social pressure, motivating consumers to make more environmentally responsible choices. As we explore consumer psychology further, let's consider some additional psychological concepts that come into play. One key concept is the idea of emotional contagion, which refers to the tendency for us to catch and mirror the emotions of those around us. Marketers often use this concept to create emotionally charged advertising campaigns that resonate with our feelings and values. Another important concept is the role of self-concept in consumer behavior, where our purchasing decisions reflect and shape our sense of identity and self-image. To illustrate these concepts in action, let's look at a real-world example. Imagine you're shopping for a new pair of shoes, and you come across an advertisement featuring a popular celebrity endorsing a particular brand. The ad creates a sense of emotional connection by highlighting the celebrity's values and personality traits, which align with your own. This can lead to a phenomenon called parasocial identification, where you feel a sense of connection to the celebrity and, by extension, the brand they're endorsing. As we conclude today's episode on consumer psychology, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question. How often do you find yourself buying something because of external influences rather than your own genuine needs or desires? Take a moment to reflect on your consumption habits and consider how understanding consumer psychology can help you make more intentional choices. Additionally, think about the role of technology in shaping your consumer behavior. With the rise of e-commerce and social media, marketers have access to vast amounts of data about our preferences, behaviors, and demographics. This has led to the development of sophisticated targeted advertising strategies that can influence our purchasing decisions in subtle but powerful ways. In conclusion, consumer psychology is a complex and multifaceted field that offers insights into the psychological processes underlying our purchasing decisions. By understanding these processes, we can become more aware of the influences shaping our behavior and make more informed choices that align with our values and goals. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the world of consumer psychology, and I look forward to exploring more fascinating topics in psychology with you in future episodes. That's all for today's episode of Psych with Sigmund. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, may your ego find balance between pleasure and reality.